Hello, welcome back to the channel. Two major stories broke today that you need to know about. First, Nnamdi Kanu just went to the Supreme Court to try to stop his own trial. And second, a former chief of army staff is now demanding that Wike apologize to President Tinubu and the entire Nigerian military over that viral soldiers confrontation. These are big developments, so stay with me because I'm breaking down both stories in this video. But first, if you appreciate honest updates like this, where I give you facts without bias and let you decide for yourself, please hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. And as you are watching, go ahead, hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow and let me know you want more content like this. Like I said earlier, we have two major stories today. The first is about Nnamdi Kanu and the shocking move he just made at the Supreme Court. The second is about the fallout from the Wike and soldiers confrontation, and now a former army chief is involved. Let me start with the Nnamdi Kanu update, then I will move to the Wike situation. So here's what happened today. Nnamdi Kanu personally went to the Supreme Court in Abuja to submit a letter to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and in that letter, he's asking the Supreme Court to help him stop his ongoing trial at the Federal High Court on terrorism charges. The next major date in that trial is November 28, 2025, which is next Wednesday. On that day, the Federal High Court is supposed to deliver its judgment in his case. But Kanu doesn't want that judgment to happen. So what did he do? He went to the Court of Appeal and filed motions asking them to stop the Federal High Court from delivering judgment on November 28th. And today, he went even higher. He went directly to the Supreme Court, the highest court in Nigeria, and submitted a letter asking the Chief Justice to intervene and discontinue his trial at the Federal High Court entirely. So essentially, Nnamdi Kanu is trying to use the higher court to block the lower court from finishing his case. Now, you might be asking, why is Kanu doing this? What is his argument? Well, according to his legal team, Kanu believes that the terrorism charges against him are based on a repealed statute. In simple terms, he's saying that the law they are using to charge him is no longer valid because it has been repealed or replaced. And if the law is no longer valid, then the charges against him should be thrown out. Kanu is also arguing that there are serious constitutional issues regarding jurisdiction and the validity of the charges that the Federal High Court did not properly address. So in short, he's saying the lower courts ignored important legal questions, and because of that, the trial should not continue. Now, here's the interesting part. The Federal High Court had previously foreclosed Kanu's right to present his defense. What does that even mean? It means the court said, okay, if you are not going to defend yourself, then we are moving forward without your defense. And why didn't Kanu present a defense? Because he consistently refused to do so. He insisted that he would not defend charges under a law he considered invalid. So Kanu's strategy has been to challenge the legality of the charges themselves rather than defending against them. And now he's taking that challenge all the way to the Supreme Court. So what happens next? Well, as of now, no date has been fixed for the hearing of these new motions by the Court of Appeal. The Federal High Court is still scheduled to deliver judgment on November 28, 2025, unless the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court steps in and stops it. So we are going to have to wait and see what the higher court decide. If the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court agrees with Kanu and stop the Federal High Court from delivering judgment, then his trial could be delayed for months or even years. But if they refuse to intervene, then the Federal High Court will go ahead and deliver its judgment next Wednesday. And depending on that judgment, Kanu could either be acquitted or convicted on the terrorism charges. Truth is, this is a very critical moment in Nnamdi Kanu's case. We are going to be watching closely to see what happens next week. Once again, if you appreciate honest updates like this, where I give you the facts without bias, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. And as you are watching, go ahead and hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you. Alright, now let's move to the second major story, which is the fallout from that viral confrontation between FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and Nigerian Navy officers in Abuja. If you haven't seen my previous video on this, I will link it at the end so you can get the full context. But here's the quick summary. A few days ago, Wike went to a land site in Gaduwa, Abuja to revoke an allocation. But when he got there, Nigerian Navy officers blocked him from entry. A heated confrontation followed and the video went viral. Now, a former chief of army staff has weighed in on the situation and his comments are making waves. Lieutenant General Tuko, who served as chief of army staff, has issued a very strong statement about the Wike incident and is not holding back. Buratai said that Wike's actions during that confrontation pose a clear and present danger to national security and that immediate corrective action is required. Let me read you exactly what Buratai said. He said, and I quote, "The minister's actions go beyond more misconduct and undermine the authority of the commander-in-chief as well as the integrity of armed forces." It described Wike's tone and public rebuke of uniformed soldier as a reckless act that strikes at the heart of Nigeria's command and control structure. Well, it didn't stop there. He said, "A minister's verbal assault on a military officer in uniform is a profound act of indiscipline that attacks the very foundation of our national security. Action of national order." So according to Buratai, Wike didn't just have a disagreement with some soldiers, he undermined the entire chain of command, disrespected the commander-in-chief, which is President Tinubu, and damaged the morale of every officer serving the Nigerian flag. And Buratai didn't stop at criticizing Wike. He also made a demand. He said, "Barrister Nyesom Wike must issue an immediate and unequivocal public apology to President Tinubu as Commander-in-Chief, to the Federal Armed Forces of Nigeria, and to the officer whose honor was compromised." So, in short, Buratai is calling for Wike to publicly apologize to the president, the military, and the specific officer involved in the confrontation or more. That's a big demand from a former army chief, and it shows you how serious some people view this incident. But of course, Wike's team is not staying quiet. His aide, Larry Olayinka, appeared on Chinese television Sunrise Daily and fired back at Buratai, and his response was very interesting. Olayinka said that Buratai is mistaken in claiming that the minister's actions pose a security threat, and then he flipped the argument. He said, and I quote, "A former chief of army staff is focused on a minister speaking to an uniformed officer, but ignores the real issue. Naval officers who should be at the war front, confronting terrorists in the Chad Basin, are being converted into private guards for uncompleted buildings." So, what Larry Olayinka is essentially saying is that why is Buratai worried about Wike talking to soldiers? He should be worried about why those soldiers are being used as private security guards instead of fighting terrorists. He then asked, which of these truly poses a threat to Nigeria? Trained soldiers defending the nation, or them being reassigned as security guards? So now the argument has shifted. Wike's team is saying the real problem is not what Wike said to the soldiers, but why the soldiers were even there in the first place. They are suggesting that someone is misusing military personnel for private security instead of national defense. So what does all this mean? Well, the Wike situation has now escalated from a simple land dispute to a national security debate. You have a former chief of army staff saying Wike disrespect the military and undermine the president. And you have Wike's team saying the military is being misused. Both sides are making serious accusations here. Now the question is, what will President Tinubu do? Will he demand that Wike apologize as Buratai suggested? Will he investigate why naval officers were being used as private security? Or will he stay silent and let this blow over? Well, we don't know yet, but this particular story is far from over. Now, you might be wondering, what do these two stories have in common? Well, both of them highlighted tensions between individuals and institutions. In Kanu's case, it is a citizen challenging the legal system and trying to use the court to stop his own trial. In Wike's case, it is a government minister clashing with the military officer, land and authority. Both situations raise important questions about respect for institutions, the rule of law, and the balance of power in Nigeria. And both situations are unfolding in real time, but we need to keep watching to see how they develop. I want to know what you think on the Kanu issue. Do you think he has a valid argument that the charges against him are based on an invalid law? Or do you think he's just trying to delay justice? Should the higher courts intervene and stop the Federal High Court from delivering judgment? Or should the trial proceed as planned? And on the Wike issue, do you agree with Buratai that Wike should apologize to the president and the military? Or do you agree with Wike's aide that the real problem is soldiers being used as private security guards? Who is right in this situation? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. Let's have a real conversation about this. Before you go, if you appreciate honest breakdowns like this, where I give you the facts and let you decide, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. By the way, I just broke down the full story of Regina Daniels and Ned Owonko's age controversy, including the voters card proof. Make sure you watch that video next. I will link it at the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay critical. Let's keep holding our leaders accountable. I will see you in the next one.